None of these cities are necessarily bad. Every place in the world has its pros and cons, fantastic people and jerks, good qualities and not so good qualities. These places are the cities in America with the highest rates of crime, and we've only included cities with a population of 50,000 or more because the ratios can be really skewed if you're looking at them compared to a small population. There isn't a single answer for what causes crime, but there are some factors like poverty, unemployment, lack of things to do that can all play a part. So we'll touch on some of those things along the way. All right, let's go. Springfield, Missouri, the birthplace of Route 66, has a lot of big city appeal, but maintains a Midwestern vibe. Museums, theaters, parks, trails, restaurants, breweries, and battlefield tours are among the things to see and do in Springfield, which is located in the Ozarks in the southwestern part of the state. The cost of living is pretty low, and it doesn't take long to get outside the city to some beautiful countryside. Some residents think it's the best place in the world, and others aren't so complimentary. What many agree on is that drugs and crime are more common than they ought to be. Springfield's violent crime rate is 396% of the national average, with 1,569 violent crimes per 100,000 people, and their property crime rate is 335% of the national average, with 6,474 property crimes per 100,000 people. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Known for breweries and baseball, Brew City sits on Lake Michigan in southwestern Wisconsin, about an hour and a half north of Chicago. The cost of living in Milwaukee is lower than the national average, and there's no shortage of things to do in and around the city, from its arts, culture, and sports to spending time on the lake. But it's not all good. 24% of the folks in Milwaukee live in poverty. Violent crime in Milwaukee is 4 times that of the national average, with 1,586 violent crimes per 100,000 in population. And property crime is about double, with 4,188 property crimes per 100,000. As one of the locals put it, the worst thing about living in Milwaukee is when people borrow your car without asking. Albany, Georgia. Albany is the capital of New York. Oh, wait, the other Albany in Georgia. The cost of living is lower than elsewhere in the country, home prices are cheaper, and locals say they like the sense of the community, not fighting traffic every day, and plenty of great places to eat. But there isn't a lot for young people in the Good Life City. The kids aren't finding affordable activities, and the young adults see a lack of social options. A big drawback is crime. Albany has 1,587 violent crimes per 100,000 in population, and 4,241 property crimes per 100,000 in population, both well above the national average. The poverty rate in Albany is 27%, and 12% of the households there are living on less than $10,000 per year. Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo is between Chicago and Detroit on I-94. It was home to the Checker cab manufacturer until they went out of business, and the original home of Gibson Guitars until they moved away. A handful of Gibson employees stayed behind and started Heritage Guitars. Kalamazoo has a bunch of breweries, but I can't tell you anything about the brands because to me, Michelob Ultra is about the fanciest beer I know. Aside from beer, the city offers quite a few museums and other attractions, especially for its relatively small size. However, the last time the city saw a real increase in population was the 1970 census, and has declined since then. The good news is that it isn't overcrowded at all. Violent crime in Kalamazoo is 402% of the U.S. average, and property crime is 233%, with 1,500 violent crimes and 4,509 property crimes per 100,000 population. Kalamazoo has the highest poverty rate of any city on this list at 31%. Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, which is on Lake Erie in northern Ohio, has an impressive list of museums, an amusement park, orchestra, theaters, casinos, and lots of sports, including the Cleveland Browns, the Cavaliers, as well as hockey and baseball teams. Clevelanders point out that they have a great mix of big city amenities without the big city traffic and price tag. Diversity, friendly people, and a beautiful lake are among the many things residents of Cleveland enjoy. What they don't enjoy are the 1,665 violent crimes per 100,000 people, or the 3,752 property crimes per 100,000 people. That's about 4 times the average for violent crime and double the property crime nationally. Unemployment is high in Cleveland at 12%, and the city has 29% of its population living below the poverty line. 16% of households in Cleveland are bringing in less than $10,000 per year. The median household income is the lowest of any city on this list at $35,562, which is about half the median household income nationwide. Baltimore, Maryland. Or more accurately, Balmer. In case anyone is offended that I'm picking on their city with this list, Balmer is my hometown. I love Charm City and the people, but I'll be the first to admit that crime is a real problem and it's out of control. The Inner Harbor is beautiful and the National Aquarium is unlike anything else, even though it's expensive. Oh, and local tip, they don't think it's funny if you bring a fishing pole and a tackle box with you to visit the aquarium. There's all kinds of great food in Baltimore, and most of it's good even without Old Bay. What's not good is the violent crime rate that's nearly 5 times the national average, with 1,859 violent crimes per 100,000 people, and a property crime rate of 4,311 per 100,000 people. It's pretty bad when the Sun, the major newspaper, has an interactive homicide map that breaks down the where and how. Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock, the state capital of Arkansas and the most populous city in the state, offers a lot to see and do, including several parks, a symphony orchestra, several universities and colleges, a fantastic zoo, a number of museums, including the William J. Clinton Presidential Library, complete with a full-scale replica of the Clinton-era Oval Office. I wonder if there's a dress hanging on the back of the door for historical accuracy. Anyway, among the many things Little Rock has to offer, the one they'd probably like to part with is the crime. Compared to the national average, Little Rock's violent crime rate is 5 times higher, and its property crime rate is 3 times higher. There's a slightly lower unemployment rate in Little Rock than the national average, and the median household income is $53,565, compared to $69,717 nationwide. Detroit, Michigan. If this one surprises you, then welcome to the new millennium, Rip Van Winkle. The Motor City played an important role in American history and flourished for decades. But with American auto manufacturing being a much smaller industry than it once was, and losing more than 65% of its population since 1950, Detroit is struggling to find itself again. The city went bankrupt in 2013 and has made some progress since then, both financially and in terms of revitalization. There are 2,154 violent crimes per 100,000 people in Detroit, which is 544% of the national average. Property crimes are above average too, at 3,356 per 100,000 people. The unemployment rate in Detroit is the highest of any city on this list at 17%, and 30% of the folks in Detroit live below the poverty line. The median household income in Detroit is $36,000 per year, just a little over half the national average. And 16% of the households in Detroit are surviving on less than $10,000 a year. I don't even know how that's possible when eggs are $6 a dozen and cars now cost more than my first house. As a car guy, some of my very favorite things have come out of Detroit, and I hope the city's able to reclaim its prominence for future generations. 2 more left on the list, and hey, if you want to see more videos like this, please tap the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Memphis, Tennessee. I really didn't expect to see the city on my list. When I think of Memphis, I think of Elvis, B.B. King, blues, music in general, and barbecue. Memphis is home to the National Civil Rights Museum, Underground Railroad Museum, Blues Hall of Fame, and Graceland. Memphis has plenty of culture, something to do and see for everyone, and a pretty good cost of living. But with a violent crime rate at 614% of the national average and property crime at 273%, the birthplace of rock and roll has more than its share of crime. About twice as many people in Memphis live below poverty compared to the rest of the country, and unemployment is pretty high too at 10%. Mobile, Alabama. Mobile has a lot going for it. It has a rich history as the oldest town in Alabama and the original home of Mardi Gras. Sorry, New Orleans. Museums, restaurants with yummy food, art galleries, the USS Alabama Battleship Memorial Park, and plenty of fishing and other outdoor activities to enjoy. You might even spot a leprechaun. What's not so great is the crime. With 2,787 violent crimes per 100,000 people, Mobile's violent crime rate is more than 7 times the national average. Property crimes are about 6 times the national average in Mobile at 11,293 per 100,000 people. The unemployment rate isn't terrible compared to the rest of Alabama or the country, but 22% of the population is below the poverty line, which is about double the national average. I'm rooting for you, Mobile. You've got a lot to offer, and I hope you get past this crime problem and put it in your past. If you want to see something else that's interesting, click on this video that's on your screen right now.